We have all grown up with these Kirana stores all around us here in India. There's a very sweet nostalgia associated with it. 90s kids are definitely going to attest to this nostalgia. The 2 rupees Pepsi, 1 rupee Bodkot, Hajmola and well, you can't forget Hawa and Herde, can you? It brings out those sweet, sweet summer memories, doesn't it? These Kirana or local retail mom and pop grocery stores are something that you can find everywhere in India. And I mean everywhere. In front of your house, behind your house, in every alley of cities and towns across India. And apart from giving us that sweet, sweet summer nostalgia, these grocery stores have also provided an effective mode of self-employment to people across India over the years. But now the times have changed. The world's biggest Kirana stores, it seems, is in brotherly embrace mode. Amazon on Saturday said that it is going to partner up with these local mom and pop grocery store to act as inventory and logistics for its goods. This is a follow-up move by Amazon that is happening in the backdrop of $1 billion investment that Amazon has promised to invest in India over a course of 5 years. So why is this happening? Sheer goodness of the heart? Hidden agendas and intentions? Responding to the whole ordeal, Mr. Jeff Bezos said,
My name is Jeff.
I'm sorry, I had to. Moving on. Responding to the whole ordeal, Mr. Jeff Bezos said Amazon partners with thousands of Kirana stores all over India as delivery points. It's good for customers and it helps the shop owners earn additional income. Say my name. Say it. I'm the one who knocks. All of that is fine. But the real question is, why? How will this investment help India? What is FDI? Are the resistance that we are seeing justified? How does all of this tie to economic growth of India? And what's Amazon's angle in all of this? Do you have the same questions? If you don't, well you should. These questions are important. Welcome back, ladies and gents. My name is Shubham Rajput and you are watching Yantras.com. So the precise reason why Amazon is targeting these stores is because of their ubiquity. If you want to talk numbers, on an industry estimate, there are at least 10 million Kirana stores spread all across India. So how did India react to this Amazon mania? Well, there was the usual mimifying of Jeff Bezos. This guy got famous. There was this guy getting mentioned in a lot of inappropriate places. And for the most part, we saw, as is always the case, Indian Janta taking two extreme positions. There were those that said, this is so good, we need this, our economy is not where it is supposed to be, let it all come, give us the monies, give us the jobs. And on the other side of the spectrum, there were those who believed that Jeff Bezos is the reincarnation of Vasco da Gama, who is here to throw us back into the life of eternal digital slavery. In light of all of these opinions, the $1 billion pledge also came in with massive protests by retail lobby of India that found expression in 300 cities across the country. As the whole ordeal progressed, the Minister of Railways and Commerce in Government of India had to say this about the whole situation.
They may have put in $1 billion, but then if they make a loss of $1 billion every year, then they jolly well have to finance that $1 billion. So it's not as if they're doing a great favor to India when they invest $1 billion. They are investing money over the last few years, also in warehousing and certain other activities, which is welcome, which is good. But if they are bringing in money largely to finance losses, and those losses in an e-commerce marketplace model, a fair marketplace model in a turnover of $10 billion, if you're going to have a loss of $1 billion, $1.5 billion, it certainly raises questions where the loss came from. How can a marketplace make such a big loss unless they are indulging in predatory pricing or some unfair trade practices? These are real questions which will need answers, and I'm sure the authorities who are looking at it will seek those answers, and I'm sure the e-commerce companies will have their say on that.
And the very next day he said this.
कल के मेरे वक्तव्य में कुछ लोगों ने ये एहसास करने की कोशिश की कि जैसे कोई अमेज़न के प्रति मैंने कुछ नेगेटिव कहा. मैं समझता हूँ उसकी अगर मेरे पूरी बात की परिप्रेक्ष्य को देखें तो मेरा कहना यह है कि निवेश आए, लेकिन जो निवेश के कायदे कानून है उस कायदे कानून के अंतर्गत आए, और ये पूरी दुनिया में यही है.
And one can have all kinds of opinions about everything, and you can also spray it all across Twitter, but that doesn't solve anything, does it? Let's not get into who is right and who is wrong here. Let's also not get into what kind of punishment should be given to the wrongdoers. Let's not get into arguments that don't lead anywhere. Let's keep those arguments for the news channels. Let's talk solution here. There are a few variables that are involved in this whole situation that I didn't fully understand, namely FDI, predatory pricing, e-commerce marketplace economics, and how do all of these relate with respect to Indian economics. And since most of you, as I am guessing, are not economists, even you are confused with all the dynamics involved, isn't it? And isn't that not the reason behind all conflicts and mess up? Lack of understanding. And so I decided to go in a little deeper into each of these variables and how these variables relate to Indian economic space and Indian e-commerce marketplace. Now, I'm not an economist, so please do not expect any kind of expert analysis, but I am an engineer and we know a little bit about everything. So you can most definitely expect whatever is needed for your understanding to be jugadified. As per the Loneliness East Devta Google, a foreign direct investment or FDI is an investment made by a firm or individual in one country into business interests located in another country. Generally, FDI takes place when an investor establishes foreign business operations or acquires foreign business assets in a foreign economy. So how does FDI impact a country's economy, and does FDI actually help in improving a country's gross domestic product or its economy in general? Let's find out. I found this research that included a comprehensive study of the impact of FDI in a developing country, Cambodia, over a time stretch ranging from 2006 to 2016. The research used tools such as correlation metrics and multiple regression analysis. The analysis empirically showed the relationship between GDP, FDI, Consumer Price Index or CPI, and foreign exchange rate or EXR. The correlation metrics between each of these parameters clearly show a positive indication between FDI and GDP. The data from the correlation metrics was then input into multiple regression analysis to understand how exactly a change in FDI, which is the independent variable, is going to depict a change in GDP, which is the dependent variable in this case. The results revealed that a unit increase in FDI will result in 7.500 rise in GDP. A unit increase in exchange rate will also result in a 7.046 rise in GDP, and a unit increase in inflation rate leads to only 0.051 increase in GDP. So as far as FDI is considered, the general perception that people have and the assumptions that were taken to solidify the empirical analysis are on point. Another incredible research that I found, and to my convenience involved countries like India and Ghana, studied the impact of foreign aids on a country's GDP. Interestingly, the study revealed that in certain situations that involved India and Ghana, the foreign aids negatively impacted the country's GDP. This happened when the economic influx or foreign aids were getting absorbed in the country and not getting deployed into engines of economic growth. That's corruption for you explained mathematically. So this research concludes that economic inflow and foreign aids influx will definitely help your country, but only if you want it to. Let me also bring your attention to certain other factors that Mr. Minister said about Amazon.
In a turnover of $10 billion, if you're going to have a loss of $1 billion, $1.5 billion, it certainly raises questions where the loss came from. How can a marketplace make such a big loss unless they are indulging in predatory pricing or some unfair trade practices?
Let's see how Amazon makes money. So when we say Amazon, we are actually talking about a multivariate company. And forget about $1 billion, man. They don't matter. What matters is understanding the dynamics behind how a company as big as Amazon operates. Let me first uncondition you with something. A company as big as Amazon doesn't base its action or its operating point into petty little things like profits. And just like every other technical giant, Amazon is capable of making money from places you can't even imagine. Or to put it simply, Amazon is a hydra. Literally. For example, in the second quarter of 2019, we saw the sales of Amazon skyrocket to $70 billion, a 28% increase from the previous year. But in the same quarter, we saw the profits of Amazon decremented by 28%, amounting to just $2.1 billion. This happened because Amazon decided to invest into quicker shipping times rather than profits. So at a relatively smaller scale, it proves that Amazon keeps changing its driving point with the underlying factor of growth remaining constant. Here, take a look at various avenues that Amazon uses to drive its revenue streams. As you can clearly see, although retail products form a big chunk of the revenue streams, it is very clear that it is not the only profit driving avenue for Amazon. Talking about profit, I'll give all of you 2 seconds to predict what is the most profitable aspect of Amazon. Amazon Web Services. Despite Amazon's dominance in e-commerce, online sales are not the main profit drivers for the company. Instead, Amazon Web Services has actually generated the majority of Amazon's operating income since 2016. Amazon Web Services, as per recent stats, has brought in $7.3 billion in operating income and $25.7 billion in revenue for the company in 2018. And looking at how Amazon has evolved itself, you can put your faith in understanding that Amazon sooner or later will figure out how to be profitable in international markets as well. And this $1 billion investment that we are seeing in front of us is actually an active step towards that. There's one other thing I feel I should bring your attention towards. Amazon is a global advertising marketplace. Yes, it is nowhere near close to Facebook and Google in its share of the pie, but get this. Amazon has the user base of 95 million people in Amazon Prime in United States alone. And this is with open disregard to the fact that there are millions and millions of people which are not even a part of Amazon Prime and are buying things that they don't need right now. So in other words, what this means is that Amazon has the rich data that can be used to convert into core profits and sales, which is sometimes not even the case with these other tech giants. So when we talk about Amazon, it is very important that we bring forth this technology aspect of Amazon in mind rather than just profits. Last but not the least, let's understand this variable called predatory pricing. As per I Know Everythingpedia, predatory pricing is a pricing strategy in which a product is set at a very low price with the intention to drive competitors out of the market and then fleecing customers with increased prices. So let's now look into how viable predatory pricing is in realistic market conditions. In my research on predatory pricing, I came across this incredible article that describes how predatory pricing technique in the long run is highly unlikely. The article obviously doesn't rule out the possibility of it happening, but puts in some really detailed use cases that prove that pulling off a strategy like that may even turn out bad for the dominating market force. I also looked into various narratives that I found regarding predatory pricing specific to India. As per this article by Business Line, these tech giants do a business of around 19,000 crore during discount sales. Now what we need to understand here is that there is a stark difference between discounting strategies and predatory pricing. The Competition Act of 2002 lays out exactly what predatory pricing means with respect to Indian economic space. The act clearly states that no individual or entity or company can use its dominant position to launch discriminatory prices or discriminatory tactics into the market. Now, if Kate really believes that these e-commerce giants are using tactics like predatory pricing into the marketplace, it is Competition Commission of India whose doors they will have to knock and not the ministry. The biggest argument in favor of predatory pricing is the fact that the one trying to be a predator must have a dominant status in the marketplace. But what is true is also the fact that in Indian commerce space, the online sales only make 5% of the total retail sales that happen in the country. So in truth, these e-commerce space don't even have a dominant status yet to initiate a predatory pricing. Plus, in order for CCI to prove that these marketplaces are indeed promoting predatory pricing, it has to prove that the sellers within the marketplace, within Flipkart and Amazon, are selling products at a cost less than the cost of production of that particular product, which will be weird because the sellers who are selling products on these marketplaces are not even complaining. Having said that, yes, incredible governance needs to be in place so that none of these techniques today or tomorrow find their place into Indian economy. And this statement should not even be something that we talk about. I mean, if someone is coming from outside and doing business in India, you better do it on country's norms. And if that is not happening, if some kind of unfair elements are finding their place into these market spaces, in many ways, this is a failure of governance, isn't it? Double and triple strict laws must definitely be in place for this to not happen. Now, once we have sufficient clarity into all of these variables, let's go back into Indian economic space and see what the solution is. Now, here's the thing. Technology is here, whether we like it or not. I mean, those days are just gone where you can just go to the office and sit it out till the evening, and the only thing that you were worried about was who was going to buy evening tea to all the colleagues. अरे क्यों? खबर सुनी कि नहीं? सुना इस साल शर्मा मैडम का प्रमोशन हो रहा है, इसी बात पे आज की चाय शर्मा मैडम पे लाएंगी. अरे उनका डॉग मर गया आज. Technology is very rapidly permeating into everything and the world as we know it. In a non-intrusive way, we are already cyborgs, aren't we? Yes, on a global scale, we are showing promise, but when you have to go from good to flawless, it is usually that area where it requires much more efforts. Spitting straight facts here. So, as a person, as a country, or as a business, we need to look within ourselves to realize why are we actually resisting technology. We are resisting technology because we think it is dangerous or because we don't want to change. Because the beauty about technology is, unlike us, it is neutral. It will go in whichever direction you want it to go. It can evolve everybody equally, or it can also potentially destroy everybody equally without any kinds of discrimination. So this neutral potential called technology can actually take your small business to arenas you can't even imagine, provided you are empowered, aware and open to change. So the point is, the very place Indian economy is right now, whether you like it or you don't like it, you need FDI. And lots of it. Let me make this pretty clear to you that FDI doesn't just mean taking money, it is also the transfer of resources, knowledge base and most importantly, technology. But you most definitely can also not be a country that actually needs funds, but you are portraying that you don't need it. अरे हमरे गांव में 100 बीघा जमीन, हमरे ताऊ की. अरे हमरे गांव में मटकेरी फटफटी, हमरे काका की. अरे हमरे गांव में 100 भैंस, हमरे फूफा की. Well, it's pretty simple. We want India to be a country that attracts investments. But you can't invite 100 guests into a single room. You need a resort. So how do you convert India into a virtual economic resort? This is actually very, very simple. Listen to what Mr. Ricardo Hausman had to say in the World Economic Forum.
The process of diversification is more about adding capabilities to your capabilities than it is about adding value to your raw materials. Let's go back to this question. Why do we observe these differences in productivity? It's again because it's not the letter that this guy has, it's the capacity of the guy to combine his letter with other letters to make longer words. So this goes to the question of inclusive growth. What makes growth not inclusive? It's the inability of people to combine their letters with other letters to make more complicated products or to make more things more productively. Now, this guy here is connected to the logistics network, to the supply network, to a knowledge network, to a bunch of networks that allows him to the financial network, that allows him to buy the stuff on credit, get it delivered to his place, use it, etc. If something breaks down, to have the services, etc. He is connected to a whole set of things that allows his effort to be productive.
We live in a country where dialects go from "Kare ka kar raho ite aa" to "Tu ithe ka karat ahes" to "What the hell are you doing, dude? Just come here," in a matter of kilometers. So diversity, one of the most important aspect of economic growth this country is already blessed with. So what Mr. Ricardo is saying, if you want to put a country's economy on a growth ramp, there are two things that needs to be done. First, diversify the manufacturing process. And second, create a network of knowledge, capability, and skill. This is the way to take India to a virtual economic resort. But first, diversify the manufacturing process. And second, create a network of knowledge, capability, and skill. Put more capability into your capabilities. So what is really missing are support structures and networks that enable these diverse sectors to mobilize their produce with as much ease as possible. So let me give you an example to properly explain to you what I mean. Recently I saw a video of Gaurav Bhai from Flying Beast wherein he was interacting with the regional communities of Gujarat who produced regional cultural goods. So at this level you want to create sufficient support structures and networks around the community so that they can mobilize their products, have access to the essential knowledge base, can expand their technical know-how and create much more diverse products in the process. So when you provide these support structures and networks to diverse production across India, you will in a way create a garden of economy, a vital economy that actually on its own attracts investments, and more importantly diverse and diffused investments rather than monopolistic ones. That's what you want. Not necessarily one big giant investing everything, but a lot of big giants investing in a lot of different things. So in that way there won't be any conflicts whatsoever. So do we need FDI? Oh yes. Do we need lots of it? Oh yes. And yes, I know there are a lot of people who think that these giant corporations are working to enslave us. Well, about that, here's the thing. Somebody can enslave you only when there is fear in you. If there is fear in you, that means there is dependency in you. If there is dependency in you, well then forget about this big corporation takeover. These are small matters. Even your cat will enslave you. Even your girlfriend will enslave you. Even your wife. You see what I'm getting at? So the solution is pretty simple. Empowerment and awareness. Why you ask? Because the direct consequence of awareness and empowerment is self-reliant. And a self-reliant, vital and vibrant economy will attract diverse investments, not just because they are seeing hordes to which they can sell stuff, but because they want to actually be a part of the economy. So how do we develop these networks and support systems? Well, like this.
You know, we have certain type of institutions. If you take IITs, IIM, and units of science, they give one type of ready-made people for going through different software, hardware development. We have 300 universities. There are very good universities also. But when the 3 million graduates come out of 300 universities, they should be trained that as employment generators,
Yes.
rather than employment seekers.
So the development of SMEs is equal to development of support networks is equal to a vibrant and healthy economy. So when that happens, diverse and diffused investments will be attracted in your economy, just like a bee gets attracted towards fresh flowers in springtime. Can you smell what they're spraying?
It's cooking.
Plus, when you're shaking hands with someone, there has to be a certain balance to the whole ordeal, isn't it? I mean, if you want to shake hands with God, you better be a God.
If you want to lie into the bed with the devil,
You better be the devil. Now, what if you don't want to do all of these things? And what if you want to just let self-centered activity flower within the system? Will somebody enslave us? No! We are living in a social media environment. We are ethical warriors. We have Twitter for that. But here's the thing, external slavery isn't the only form of slavery, isn't there? And this time the situation will be a little funny, because if you allow self-centered activity to flower within a system, you will be enslaved without even knowing who enslaved you. I hope you like this video. Like, share, subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you can receive the videos that I publish as soon as I publish them, and you can also receive videos like this into your YouTube feed. I hope you take great care of yourselves, and I am going to see you again very, very soon. Namaskaram.